let's do Tiger baseball first because they're in a rain delay, and I don't know. I don't want to be talking about them in the middle of their game, at the very least. So you know what? Let's talk Tigers. All right, they start the year with 3-game sweep of the White Sox. Scooble. I mean, absolute masterclass. Like, let me see if I can pull up the box score here of his home opener. Not the recap icon. Can I not click box score? What is this? I don't know what I just clicked. Okay, yeah, there we go. Here we go. Tarek Skubal, I believe he pitched 6 innings. 6 innings, just 3 hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts. I mean, if that's a sign of things to come for him, if that's basically what we are going to expect from a Skubal start every single time he's on the mound, I mean, maybe not every single time, but basically every time he hits the mound, you're going to have a start like that. I'm feeling good. And this bullpen as well has been great. Shelby Miller has been a fantastic addition. I didn't even know who he was. I saw him take the mound on opening day. I was like, who is Shelby Miller? I don't even remember. Apparently, we brought him in. He's been fantastic. Andrew Chafin, he gave up the 1 home run, I believe, on Sunday, but he's been great. Jason Foley has been fantastic. Fortunately, the only like lousy spot in the bullpen that I've seen so far was Alex Lang, which is crazy to think about because of how good he was to start last year and just how he has sort of just careened down. But luckily, we got our arms. We've got the arms. I mean, Jason Foley has been lighting up the what's the name of the gun? The speed gun. I don't know. Is that the right word? I mean, he's throwing 100 miles an hour fastball. Like, pitching has been out of this world. And I didn't know if it would be this good. I knew it would probably be pretty good. But through 4 games, they've pitched 2 shutouts, and they've won every single game except for last night by 1 run. Like, you couldn't ask for a greater start for the pitching. They've kept this team in games despite the offensive woes, and that's what I want to talk about very briefly here. There is a couple of notes I want to point out because Green, Torque, and Carpenter, the 3-headed monster of young players, they've all driven in runs. I mean, Green and Carpenter both have hit home runs. Torkelson hit an RBI in his first game. It was the RBI that, he didn't have an RBI the first game. The second game, he had an RBI. But the thing about this offense that is not exactly, what's the word, inspiring. Let's just take a look at some of the stats through 4 games, okay? As far as, let me just get average, okay? So they only get the average for the top 6 guys because I guess they have the most at-bats. You know things are bad when your second best hitter by average is Javi Baez, who's batting 188, by the way. Riley Green batting 067. Colt Keith, the guy that we signed to this massive extension, he's batting 083. Parker Meadows, 100. Spencer Torkelson, 176. Your best hitter right now is Mark Canha, who, to be fair, nice offseason addition if he can continue at this pace, but I don't think he's going to be a 300 hitter. But if he can be at least half of what, well, maybe not half, at least like 3/4 or of this, I'd feel satisfied. Batting 308. He's got a 1086 OPS. As far as RBIs, I want to say Carson Kelly. Yeah, Carson Kelly leads the team with 5 RBIs. I don't think anybody expected that. And then in terms of OPS, again, I already said Mark Canha leads it, but you got a lot of guys below 700, at least in terms of, qualifying plate appearances here for guys. And on MLB.com is what I'm looking at. Parker Meadows, 550 OPS. That's not, you can't be at that. Like, obviously, I know it's 4 games. I'm not ready to write any of these guys off. I think Riley Green's a great player. I think Spencer Torkelson's got some power in him. I think Parker Meadows can be a solid bat. And they wouldn't have signed Colt Keith to the contract they gave him if they didn't have some belief that he's going to develop to be that, top of the line first or second baseman, not first baseman. But it is something to be a little concerned about. I mean, last night they almost got no hit. Like they didn't drive in a run until extra innings. Like, I know you're doing it against the White Sox and the Mets. Like, you're getting the wins, and I'm not upset with it. But I need to see a little bit more consistency from this offense to really feel like this offseason was a success. Like, if you if you come to me by the end of this month, by the end of April, and this team's offense feels basically like where we're at right now, where it's inconsistent, maybe they'll show you some like run scoring in spurts where like they'll have one inning where they score a bunch of runs and then the whole rest of the game they just die. They don't go anywhere. That's not going to work. That's not going to work for me. This is going to be just like last year. And I want to believe this team is better than last year. I want to believe that Scott Harris and Jeff Greenberg and the young players on this team can make some progress and actually move, the standard of this team a little bit higher. But it's hard to know this early into the season whether or not right now is the exception or right now will be the rule. Now, you can safely assume that these stats are not all that reliable of where they will be, at least individually. I mean, people forget Riley Green was like a 286 hitter last year, but the offense was still terrible. I mean, Spencer Torkelson hit over 30 home runs. Offense is still terrible. I need to see a little bit more. And maybe assuming they play tonight, which is unknown due to this rain delay, assuming they play tonight, if they come out and are whacking the balls, hitting the home runs over the fence like the Meet the Mets song, like if that's what's going on, I'll feel good about it. I'll feel good going into the home opener against the Oakland A's because they got a chance to win this 3-game set against the Mets tonight. And I'll say this once, and I'll probably end up saying it again, but I don't care who you're playing. If you win 5 games in a row, you have my attention. And again, it's not easy to win 5 games in a row. I don't care that it's the beginning of the year. I don't care that it's against potentially 2 of the worst teams in the respective leagues. I don't care who it is. They're major league players, and it's major league teams. I'm not gonna say that it's not impressive. But right now they're still sitting with looking at their schedule. Here's another thing I want to point out here. Looking at their schedule, up to at least April 11th, they have nothing but winnable games / winnable series. Like, they have a chance to win this series tonight against the Mets. If not, they have the chance. If they don't win tonight, they have the chance to win it tomorrow. Then they're at home against the Athletics. That is arguably one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball. You got to win that game. Then you go on the road. You take on the Pirates in a 2-game set. Pirates early on in the year actually do scare me because they always do this. But that is a team that if you are, in theory, an improved team, if you made the additions you want to make, you wanted to make in the offseason, then you should be able to win that series or at least split it. But starting the 11th is when the real schedule, quote unquote, begins. You got a 4-game set against the Twins at home. You got a 4-game set against the Rangers, the World Series champions, at home. You got a 3-game set against the Twins again on the road. You got a 3-game set against the Rays on the road. Like, that's going to be a brutal mid-stretch of April. But if you can go into April 11th, let's say they're 5-0 right now, or they're 4-0 right now. Let's say they win this series against the Mets. They win 2 out of 3. So that's going to put them at 5-1, right? 5-1 going into the home opener. I think you probably could sweep the A's. That should be 8-1, right? And then Pirates, I think maybe I wouldn't be shocked if they lose that series, honestly. So 8-3 going into the Twins series at home. Obviously I'm assuming a lot of things here. But if you can be sitting pretty 8-3, or heaven, God willing, right? 10-1, something crazy, right? Like if you're really dominant, or maybe not dominant, but you're really winning a lot of these games and then dominating a few games in there. Like, okay, then we can enter mid-April and feel like, all right, let's get ahead of this. Let's take let's try to crunch on to this division lead and make it a very difficult challenge for the Twins or the Guardians or whoever to reclaim that title. Because you do have you already played a divisional opponent, and you're going to have another chance against a divisional opponent next week. And then later on in the month, you'll have them again, and then later on in the month, you have a different divisional opponent in the Kansas City Royals. I just think it's one of those things where I know that technically speaking, we're only 2 years in, quote unquote, to this rebuild, because it's sort of weird where the timeline works, because obviously Al Avila gets fired and the team still has a lot of Al Avila draft picks, a lot of Al Avila players on the team, namely Spencer Torkelson, Parker Meadows, Riley Green, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Guys that you want to keep around, to be fair. Even Cole Keith, I believe, was a Al Avila draft pick. But all of this monologuing is to say, there is a path for the Tigers to really grab my attention and to really grab the baseball world's attention. More importantly, I don't care. They'll have I'll be watching their games, right? I would like the national stage to be like, hey, wait a minute. You should look out for the Tigers, because it's been 10 years since this team made the postseason. So needless to say, this rebuild has not exactly borne a lot of fruit. But I think you might have the right guys in charge potentially. The pitching is there. It's up to the bats, and it's up to the development of these hitters at the major league level, and that's on AJ Hinch, that's on the hitting coach, that's on the actual roster construction itself. So hopefully they can pull it off, and hopefully they'll be able to get this game. They still got the tarp on the field there over at Citi Field in old Queens, New York. So we'll see if that game ends up happening, but I'll be live during the whole thing. So if something crazy happens, well, I'll see it. Hey there, what you just watched was actually a clip from a larger show that we do every Tuesday night. What are you doing Tuesday night? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the like button so that you don't miss out on any more of our weekly shows every single Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope to see you there.